Well, our first guest is here, and her name is Melanie Ferrier-Wise. And Melanie, like Jen was saying earlier, she was in the Capital One Arena, and I think it was this past weekend, and a $10,000 jumper championship. And, this is not something that you see at a jumper championship, because let me tell you, Melanie was riding her horse completely bridleless. Melanie, good morning. You're crazy enough to be on the show. Welcome.
Good morning. How are you guys?
Fantastic. Thank you so much for joining us. Oh my gosh. I saw a picture of you jumping a substantially huge fence with no bridle. It was awesome. It was inspirational. Tell me about you and your horse. Talk.
I've been with Vlad for about 2 years in the show ring, and we kind of just been learning as we go type thing. And he's always done well, but always been a little tense. So when we did kind of bad at Harrisburg when we went there, we had been home and we practiced at home bridleless. So I figured, why not give it a try? It's kind of one of those things. I had been practicing at other smaller shows and at some other events, and he had been doing really well and actually better than what he does in the bridle. So, I gave it a chance. I warmed up with it. I schooled the night before without a bridle, and he was really great. So I was positive that he would give me a good ride.
Okay. So tell us about Vlad.
Vlad's a 14-year-old Dutch warm blood gelding. He spent the first 9 years of his life in the Dominican Republic as a jumper. I am not real familiar with how well he did over there. He was gelded and brought to the United States for a dressage horse, and he just never really settled. They tried to show him and they tried to do things with him, and he was just kind of a terror to work with. So
you're like, I'll take it.
Well, believe it or not, no, actually, that's not how it went. I had been working with a previous troubled horse. I had been with him for like 3 years. And the owner of Vlad called me because they had this horse, him, that was just not working out, and they had been following my previous horse and thought that I would be a good match for him. Wow. And actually at the time, we really didn't want him. My husband trains, and we at the time were in North Carolina, and he had his own training business. So we had constant horses all the time, and just the time to do another problem horse just wasn't there. Plus my other horse was really all I could handle. He was difficult. So we reluctantly took him, but it took a little convincing. It wasn't like, oh, yeah, I'll take this horse. He's nice. I just was not looking for another troubled horse.
Right. Absolutely. I mean, who goes out and finds that? It usually just finds you, which seems like this is what's going on. So you took him in, and how did you make a transition to riding a difficult horse bridleless? I did bridleless with my previous horse, and I really loved it. I did everything bareback and bridleless. I didn't even own a saddle for that horse. And so when I lost that horse and I started riding Vlad, I was in tears over the fact that Vlad was so difficult and hot. So I wasn't feeling he was going to be a very good bridleless horse. I was so upset because I had done so much and come so far with my other horse. But, we played with it here and there, and, it really wasn't until recently that I started to have a real breakthrough. I've practiced and gone, done trails and played with it here, and I've, been a little gutsy and hopped over a big oxer, but, it's only one fence, it's not a course, and I was always, comfortable that he would take care of me in that environment. But, he just got better as I started to transition, and I took the bridle away completely in September, actually, because I was doing a performance at a little event that I had done when I was years and years ago when I was younger. I was practicing for that because they had asked me to come and do bridleless jumping for them. And so I was a little nervous because I haven't done it most of the season because I was showing. But he just something clicked and he really took to it. And he was so much more relaxed, so I spent like a whole month not even in the bridle at all. And that's when I realized, I had a totally different horse under me, and it really made a difference.
Right. Absolutely. So when you say he's tense in the bridle, a lot of times you say, oh, he's super hot, he's crazy intense in the bridle, and then you just decide to take the bridle off. I mean, what are some of the exercises that you can do to teach a horse to go bridleless?
And this is where I feel like my husband would be a better answer for this. We start with the bridle on, and basically it's just getting clear aids with your seat and your leg. You start with the bridle on or a halter or whatever you want to leave on, and you just have a neck rope, and you work on turning and stopping, and those are your two biggest things.
Yeah.
I basically want my stop, when I'm starting with, particularly with a bridleless horse, I want them to almost be like a reiner. I want them, if I say ho, they need to plant their feet and stop. And sadly, it creates a little bit of trouble when you're like trying to get downward transitions and stuff. But for the most part, they catch on real quickly as you develop a verbal cue. And, you have different cue system for kind of everything. You have a verbal and you have a physical, like your seat and leg. And then you can go to the neck strap, which is kind of the last resort. So hopefully they listen to the cues previously to the neck strap. But, if they don't, then that's kind of what helps you back it up.
Now, Rosie, our listener, just messaged me and she wants to know, do you speak Spanish to Vlad? Are your verbal cues in Spanish?
No, they're not. For like ho, I just use ho, and a downward transition, I hum. So he can, even if he can't really hear me, which I think is a little bit of the trouble in an environment like Washington, is he's not, he can't necessarily hear all of my verbal cues. So I do have to be a little bit more clear with my body or with my neck strap, which is, a little bit tough when you're nervous. And I know, rightfully so, I was nervous going in. But, when I walked into the ring, my husband's just like, just hum a tune, just go in there and just have fun. Don't be too stressed out, because, last year I was really stressed out and I could tell when I rode him.
I use the humming technique for everything. It really makes a difference, because the humming loosens your, when you're tense and you're tight and you're holding your breath, and if you hum, it makes you take a deep breath and slowly let it out. So on those times when I'm nervous, I do that all the time. So I'm pretty sure your husband's amazing and he's a great trainer.
Yeah. He spent so many years doing reining stuff that, he taught me when I first started, with my other bridleless horse. He was just like, just breathe out. And I'm like, That's really hard. But it works.
It's hard to breathe when you're holding your breath.
Yes. You forget especially when you're in a course environment. I think that's what makes this so special for me is, when you go out into a ring and you're practicing, you can always make corrections and you can always stop and fix something that might not be 100%, or maybe the response wasn't there 100%. But when you walk out into a course environment with no bridle, you can't stop and make corrections. It certainly makes things a lot more complicated, just because, you have to require a response at all times. And when you're in the course, it doesn't always work that way.
Yeah, no kidding. Yeah, we've all been there. So what is next for you and Vlad? And what is his complete show name? Is he Vlad the Impaler?
No, actually, my husband is literally jumping around for joy right now. We named him that because he was kind of mean, and we were trying to find like an epic name that fit a plain black horse that had a good big presence to him that was kind of small. So we wanted him to be like, tough. No, his actual show name is actually just Wings. So there's nothing special. I was wondering when I got his papers, I was like, who names a well-bred horse that you import Wings? I mean, it kind of just seems plain to me, but when I started jumping him, I started realizing very quickly why they named him that. He certainly
gotcha.
he has springs in his legs, and, he's a small horse. He's just 15.3, and he's got not a huge stride, and he really has to step up his game to go into the coursework, as far as the striding goes. But no, his name's not anything in particular. We just call him Vlad at home. Actually, when, if he's in trouble or I'm upset with him, it's Vladimir. But, that's pretty much the extent of his name.
Oh, that's so great. Well, where are we going to see you guys next?
Actually, we're headed to Swan Lake this weekend. We're going to show in the High Adult Classic on Sunday. I think it's their Harvest Fest show. So that's kind of my plan next. As well, as far as the future, we are going to show, we've confirmed with a few different shows that we can show bridleless. I think that's the biggest thing, is the facility willing to let me ride that way.
That's what I was going to ask you. Yeah. Is there any rule against it? I guess so. It's just a place to place rule or a show to show rule?
I think from my understanding, I've talked to a few stewards, when I sent my application in for Washington and I talked to them about doing bridleless, I sent them videos. I basically was like, here's what I can do. Hopefully you'll let me do this. And so basically when I go to shows, I will send an email before I send the entry, tell them a little bit about myself and what I've been doing and what my goals are, and that I would like to pursue showing bridleless. And most of them are okay with it. I've talked to stewards. I've talked to, show managers. They really don't have trouble, believing that I can control my horse. Now, if I'm out on course, even if I pay for the class and they feel that I'm dangerous, they can make me stop. So, I think
right.
that's the biggest thing. It is a risk. And, I do ride a hot horse. So, sometimes he can, even in the bridle, can be a little difficult, but I've never felt out of control. I've always felt he is a forward horse. He likes to ride forward. Even, I think that's kind of what happened at our second fence at Washington was, I came in and I just came in at a slow pace, and that's just not how he normally rides. So, when I go to shows, I just make sure I email beforehand. I'm not going to show up without a bridle and just expect them to let me ride. I don't want to surprise people. I want them to know that I'm coming.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's just incredible. And I think now with the Chronicle article and here, I think people are going to know you're coming now very shortly. So you're an inspiration to me because I love that. I wish they would let us event bridleless or at least bitless. So congratulations, girl. This is awesome.
Yeah, thank you. I'm excited, and I'm nervous. Just like anything else, it's kind of a world that hasn't been explored yet, and I have a lot of things to tweak. When I was telling my husband that when I go to, I can practice all at home all day long, but show environments and different questions that are asked out on the course. We don't have a big ring, and we have like just basic fences, like 4 of them. So we don't get a lot of like coursework. So when I go to a show, it gives me a chance to really work on coursework. And we're going to have things to fix, and there's going to be things that come up in the future that, because I don't have a bridle, sometimes he can get away with more. And it's just a matter of addressing them and making it clear that something's not okay or is okay. And just going from there. It's going to be a really, really fun journey, I think.
Can people follow you on Facebook? Where can they learn more about you and kind of follow you and Wings, Melanie Ferrier-Wise and Wings out on the course?
I do have a Facebook. It's just my personal page. It's Melanie Ferrier Wise. I have thought about starting a Facebook page specifically for Vlad and I, just because I have gotten an overwhelming amount of friend requests on my Facebook page, and now I have a lot of different languages going around on my news feed. And I have a Instagram as well, and it's just Unbridled Wings. I just recently changed that, and I was so excited. I've never changed my Instagram name, but, I really feel like this is something that is big in my life, and I really am going out and doing it with all my heart. I want to go back to Washington next year. We were in the top 5 ranked riders for Washington and the top Maryland rider this year. And, I think that we can do it and stay in the same rankings again this year. We're just going to try to show. I don't have a lot of money to back the showing. So we kind of just go show to show, and if we do well at one, we get to go to another. So hopefully that continues this year. But as far as Facebook goes, it's just my personal page for right now. Right. And then maybe I'll start up a page for both of us.
We need an Unbridled Wings Facebook page so we can follow, because some of us are too old for Instagram. So please do that. Make it happen. And when you are in the Olympic Games, bridle us on Vlad. Can you remember us so you can do an interview with us?
Absolutely. I've actually, I'm a kind of a proactive person. I love to, reach out to people and maybe hopefully open up some opportunities. We're going to be definitely performing at the Maryland and Pennsylvania Horse Expo this year. And I've actually talked to Tryon International Equestrian Center about doing a little performance at the World Equestrian Games. So I'm hoping that maybe they hear this and they're going to push for that. But, I really just want to get him out. And, like you said, it's not necessarily for me. I want to inspire people to, one, follow your dreams and really just do it with everything you have, and that not all horses are the same. I think that's what we've expressed in every one of our interviews is, my other jumper rides in a bridle just like any other horse in a bit, and Vlad does too. It's just I have found that this just works best for him, as an individual. It doesn't mean that I do bridles with all my horses, but he likes that, and so I figured I'd keep going with it.
Well, I think you're exactly right. You have to listen to what the horse tells you, and each horse has its own individual story. And what you're doing is you're listening. And so congratulations for that. He's absolutely beautiful, and we can't wait to see more from you. You and Elisa Wallace doing bridleless demos at the World Equestrian Games. I can see it now.
That would be awesome. that would absolutely be awesome. She's like been an inspiration for me as well. So I think that would be amazing. Let's start pushing and trying. I would definitely go anywhere that anybody invited me, and Vlad has done great in all his performances. He loves the crowd. I have never had an issue with any kind of crowd environments, and he just loves to show off what he has. So, I just let him do his job.
Great. Melanie Ferrier Wise, you can find her on Facebook. Instagram is Unbridled Wings. I love that. And thank you so much for coming on and talking to us.
All right. No problem. Thanks for having me.
All right. Talk to you soon. Before the Olympics, we'll talk to you. Okay.
All right. Sounds good.
Bye.
Bye.
Isn't that cool?
Oh, what struck me is looking at the photos and watching the little video there. That horse looks so happy going over those fences and just so happy to be in the arena. And I really got what she said about he really does like to show off. I would love to meet that horse in person because he looks really cool.
Yeah, absolutely. Well,